what comfort have you taken in the concept of truth, really specifically over the last 6 or 7 months? And Lesley, we're going to start with you. And then you can throw it to your other panelists, or, I can keep it flowing as well.
Okay, thanks. So, yeah, it's a beautiful inquiry. And when Brooke first asked me, I kind of had a moment of like, oh, comfort in truth. Because certainly these days, the truth of what's been happening in our society, of course, in our world at large, has made me very uncomfortable. And I was reminded of this time when I owned a yoga studio in Brooklyn. I used to co-own Prema Yoga, which is a beautiful studio that's still going on in Carroll Gardens and in Clinton Hill. And it was on the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks in New York. And I wanted to have a satsang. I wanted to have a gathering with our students. And so I invited one of my teachers from Ananda Ashram, this woman, Joan Suval, who passed away recently, but she was in her 80s or something at that time. And I invited her to come and give a talk to our community. And I said something on the little poster on the write-up, something about like, on the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, Joan Suval is going to come and offer us some comfort during this difficult time, and whatever it was that I wrote. And then so the night came, and there's all the yoga studios, and the place is packed. Everybody's ready for comfort. And Joan came waddling in, wearing all her white and her whole thing. And she sat down in the front, and she said, "I saw Lesley's poster. Oh, it was beautiful." And then she said, "But it said I'm here to offer you comfort." And she looked straight at everybody and she said, "I'm not here to offer you comfort." And I remember she said, "Truth is uncomfortable." Right? And this is where the yogic work is really digging in and getting comfortable with our discomfort in a certain way, is taking time to sit with some of these uncomfortable truths. I think in the relative sense, there is a lot of discomfort in the truth of what's going on right now. But at the same time, if we dig into them using the more universal teachings on truth, like the universal teachings on change, on the inevitability of constant flux, that things come into form for a while, they stay as long as they should, inevitably they change. That's an impersonal truth, but that's a hard one to swallow. But it's actually quite comforting if we can sit with it and practice it. And it helps us navigate the other truths that we must look at as yogis, right? Yogis have always been the radicals in society. From the early days, naked in the graveyards, covered in ashes and dreadlocks. The yogis have always. Someone once said that this word radical comes from the same root as the word radish, right? Which means to dig in, right? To get to the root of something, to dig into something, to investigate. And as we all know, we've all been doing this for long enough. When we start to really investigate ourselves, when we start to look around with a truthful eye at what's happening around us, and we see that it's not quite consistent always with our values, it can be hard, but we keep digging, we get to the root of that suffering with our practice, and inevitably, but eventually we get to that peace. But it's not easy. And I think that's where those foundational teachings and those bigger universal understanding of truth, if that makes sense, really helps to serve as a backbone. And that's just what I'm thinking today.
Yeah, that's really amazing. So it's discomfort and truth. I like that.
It's funny. It's discomfort in truth. And then through that investigation of the discomfort, the truth sets you free.
Always, right? Always, yeah. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you want to follow up.
Yeah. One thing that's been so interesting is living in a small Brooklyn apartment with my partner, and we've been together, he and I have been together for about 4.5 years now. But what's been great about our relationship up until, March of this year is that we would be out for most of the day, teaching and going about our lives and having some sense of independence, seeing our own friends or even mutual friends, and then coming home at night and having together time. But we never really got, adjusted or comfortable with being together for basically 24/7. So when March hit and we were forced to be inside and both work from home, we're both yoga teachers, and streaming classes and figuring out our schedules, it was really hard. And a lot of things maybe that we didn't realize about each other came to the surface. So there's a lot of truth and now knowing, deeper about each other on many different levels. And what I really loved was how these past couple of months brought us closer to the truth about who we are and what we do to maybe dissociate, and how we can better communicate with each other and with ourselves, understanding better our habits, what are our go-to strategies to dealing with things that are really difficult. And I really found a lot of comfort in being faced, head on with the things that I need to work on. And so, truth is exactly like what you were saying, Lesley, is just like, you have to, there is this big uncomfortable thing about it. It's like the elephant in the room sometimes, that really allows you to improve as a human, as a partner, as a teacher. And if you're really able to sit with yourself and look at what's going on in your life and progress from there, then you really become a better person. So yeah, there's been a lot of that, and it's actually been hard to deal with at sometimes, certain points. But it's made all the difference in our relationship, and then also my relationship with myself and with my other friends. Yeah. It's
And
really
probably with your
interesting.
students, right, as well?
Students too. Yeah,
All the things
absolutely.
been
Yeah.
infused into your teaching style, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
And my truth of who I am as a teacher, because now we're all trying to brand ourselves online and, advertise and get our classes out there and keep our work going and our flow going. So it's like, what is my truth? What do I really want to offer as a teacher? Yoga, movement, etc.
Oh, that's really interesting. So it's actually become part of like that exploration of your differentiator or your offer.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I know. I think we're all forced to do that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's great. And Kate, last but not least.
Yeah. Thank you both. I resonate very much with what both of you shared, and echo a lot of that. I think, over the past I guess it's been longer than 6 months now. But I think there has been so much that's been kind of unearthed and unveiled and uncovered in a way. And, some of which has been, in my experience, has been really deeply challenging the ways that I would say we are all kind of navigating and engaging with the world. Some of the things that have been kind of come to light have been really devastating in acknowledging and illuminating some of the deep pain and suffering that has been going on and is continuing to go on, and in the world, and also in this industry, really, and I think there is also an aspect of a piece of this time that has also illuminated a clarity. And I think, both of you were speaking to this a little bit, but the clarity of kind of opening the doors to what really feels aligned, what feels like how I want to be showing up in the world, where I want to be putting my energy, finding that clarity and that alignment in my relationships. And so I would say that in all of these circumstances, that inevitably truth is clarity. Truth offers us clarity. And while it's not always easy, that there is comfort in knowing that seeing and acknowledging and honoring the truths that are coming up and coming to light are ultimately leading us to places where we can make change, where we see and want to make change, and also places really more experiencing more peace, ultimately, hopefully, in that acknowledgement. Because if we're not acknowledging it, then there's no change, right? There's no shift.
It makes me think of Brene Brown's work too about, clarity is kindness. So it kind of is this full circle, right, of the possibility of what truth can bring, albeit challenging, as you've all attested to, really difficult to kind of grind through. But that other side of it being this clarity or a kindness or an awakening to an extent. So that's amazing and makes me think of the question and the concept of truth very differently. More as certainly as you guys have described it, more of like a journey, right? Than a place that we can land. So thank you for that. Thank you for those insights. The next question is very similar.